Joining me now is Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen of Maryland. Senator, thank you for being with us. I would understand if you have a little whiplash here, summit whiplash, on, off, back on.
It's
in
been
2
chaos,
weeks, not
more
at all.
chaos. Yeah.
Should they try to put this back together?
Well, the issue about a summit all along, Andrea, is that this is something that North Korean leaders have wanted for a very long time. And just having a meeting with an American president is a win for North Korean Kim Jong-un because it elevates the North Korean leader on the world stage, which means that if you're going to have a summit, whenever you do, and I'm not against it, but you better really have your plan in place to get what the United States wants and needs out of that. And I've seen absolutely no evidence that that's going to happen right now. If the president thinks this is going to be one big photo op, then that's one big win for Kim Jong-un. And so we better have a strategy in place. And the fact that we don't even communicate with our allies in South Korea as we make these decisions suggests to me that there's no strategy at all.
One of the concerns has been, what is China's role? The president certainly raising the prospect that President Xi tried to slow down this whole process when Kim Jong-un went to China for his second visit. And my own reporting seems to indicate that as well. What is China's equity in this?
Well, look, China obviously wants to keep a close hold and close lever on North Korea, and so they're clearly involved in this. I will say that the president's decision, President Trump's decision to roll back the penalties that we placed on ZTE, which is the Chinese telecommunications company that was caught cheating with respect to our North Korea sanctions. The president's talk about rolling back those sanctions actually undermines our strategy of putting maximum pressure on North Korea. It sends a signal to others that may want to violate our sanctions that, hey, go ahead, but if you get caught, maybe you can go cut a deal with the president. And that's why the Congress, the Senate, on a bipartisan basis this week in the Banking Committee, voted to prohibit the president from unilaterally cutting those kind of deals.
I'm glad you brought this up because now the New York Times is reporting today that Congress is being notified that the administration has agreed with China on a plan to revive ZTE. And we should point out that this is not just a telecom company that is doing unfair trading. This is a telecom company that is considered a national security hazard to the extent that U.S. military are not allowed to buy these phones because they can have backdoors and other ways where the Chinese can get into them and spy on us.
Well, that's right, Andrea. There are two big issues with ZTE. One is what you just said. We've had testimony from the president's own national security team about the risks that ZTE poses to U.S. national security. On top of that, they violated our sanctions with respect to North Korea. They were caught. They then lied repeatedly, which is why we placed these penalties on them. And Congress is going to vote this coming week, after the break, the week after this, as part of the Armed Services Bill, the National Defense Authorization Bill, there's a provision that would prohibit the president from unilaterally making that change. It would require the president to come to Congress, make certain certifications with respect to ZTE. So there's strong bipartisan resistance to this idea of the president trading away important national security measures and enforcement efforts in order to cut some other kind of deal with China, whatever that may be. So this is all part of this mix with North Korea, but giving a break to ZTE undermines our maximum pressure sanctions effort against North Korea.
And very briefly, before I let you go, I wanted to ask you about the chief of staff and the president's personal lawyer going to the safe room and at least being there at the beginning of not one but two classified briefings, one for the Gang of Eight and earlier at the Department of Justice. Unprecedented involvement by the White House and by the president's attorney when he's a subject of the Russia investigation.
It's totally inappropriate, Andrea, and this is where you would have hoped that Republican leaders in the House and the Senate would have stood up for sort of the rules of making sure we have the right separation of powers here. You know, the president's raised these unsubstantiated claims of spying, but by sending his own people into the room with members of Congress who are being briefed on an ongoing investigation, the signal that a lot of people believe he was sending was, okay, members of Congress, Nunes and others, just let me know what this information is about the ongoing investigation. In other words, using them to spy on the DOJ investigation. This is totally inappropriate. It's part of an ongoing effort of this White House to distract attention and sabotage an investigation where every American has an interest. You would have thought the president has an interest in getting to the bottom of this and allowing the rule of law to apply. And the fact that they're so focused on trying to blow it up obviously raises the question, what are they worried about? Why is the president so worried about what Mueller might find?
Senator Chris Van Hollen, thank you very much, and a good Memorial Day weekend to you, sir.
Thank you, and to you and the listeners.